Okay, the recording should come on now. Okay, we're back in court, counsel. We've considered the matter. We've deliberated between the justices. It was a good engagement between the justices, and we have come up with a unanimous decision. So I'm going to just very briefly, without reasons, give our judgment. Basically, the applicant in this matter is Ms. Thandi Mashaba, who is a 45-year-old single mother of four children and the sole proprietor of the SHRC. She was an owner of the SHRC, and as a result of the government declared state of national disaster on the 15th of March 2020, and which came into effect on the 23rd of March 2020, which was declared where a 21-day lockdown was declared. The sale of alcohol in that initial period and the opening of any restaurants and shebeens or taverns was prohibited. The imposition of the lockdown left Ms. Mashaba distraught. Without the income from the SHRC, Ms. Mashaba would not have enough to support her family. If nothing was done, they would starve. Ms. Mashaba therefore took the decision to ignore the lockdown. She continued her operations unlawfully and kept the SHRC open every night as before. After her stock ran out, Ms. Mashaba either purchased further alcohol illegally or brewed her own. Ms. Mashaba was arrested on the 8th of May 2020 and charged with the contravention of Regulations 24.2, Regulation 26, and Regulation 31 of the Level 4 lockdown regulations. She then brought an application challenging the constitutional validity of the Level 4 lockdown regulations, and it was opposed by the National Director of Public Prosecutions. The National Director of Public Prosecution abided by the decision of this court. The President and the Minister have jointly opposed this application, and then we've also had the intervention of the Amicus Curiae Abafazi Equality Institute. We have heard the arguments, we've considered the heads of argument, we have engaged very actively with counsel in the matter to establish the basis of the application and the opposition to the application. And we, after having considered all the very copious heads of argument, the very, very able arguments submitted to us in court, have come to the decision that despite the fact that the applicant is now applying for the relief as set out in its notice of motion that Regulations 24.2, 26, and 31 be declared unconstitutional, and that the sale of alcohol and operating of shebeens be declared lawful, subject to appropriate social distancing measures, and that the criminal records of those arrested for contravention of sections 24.2, 26, and 31 be expunged, and that the first and second respondents pay the costs of the application. We are of the view that the application be dismissed. As far as the costs are concerned, we have heard argument on that portion, and we've been guided primarily by the BioWatch case, where the indications are that where a party seeks to exercise its constitutional rights and brings an application in that regard, they should not be discouraged from bringing such applications, and therefore they should not be mulcted with costs. So we dismiss the application but make no order as to costs.
Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Thank you. Now what we're going to do from here onwards is we're going to, as justices in the matter, we're going to do a verbal assessment as far as the arguments and the heads of argument that have been presented to us. And perhaps I will leave the two other justices to give their assessments, and then I will give my assessment.
Justice Haji, would you like to start?
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Chief. My assessment of I will start with the heads of arguments. The heads of arguments of the applicant. My recommendation is that going forward, if your arguments can be a bit more concise, not too long-winded in terms of how you draft it. Of course, we noted that you were going against the grain, which means that you had more of an uphill battle to climb. But that does not mean that you, because it seems more of a copy and paste exercise rather than an analytical exercise. For example, I think I would have looked more positively into your arguments if you had been a bit more concise and applied yourself more on the not just the legislation but also on the cases that you relied on. That would be my first assessment. As far as the presentation is concerned, it started well. Except that towards the end, you seem to have considered most of your arguments. If you believe in your arguments, you stick to your guns. Of course, some justices will concur with you, and if you do not have enough arguments and do not have enough to support your arguments, we will not concur with you. But I don't think that it's a good idea to concede every time you feel that you are pinned against the wall, because as you practice, which I'm hoping that is what you want to do, you find yourself in that situation more often than not. And you might find that another court would probably find in your favor. So just because you've lost in one court, unless of course it's the constitutional court, in which case then you don't have any other place to appeal, but that would be, that would be my input. Coming to the respondent, pace yourself when you make your submissions. I also have the challenge of talking very fast, and I make a conscious decision to pace myself, especially when I know that I'm addressing the judges or I am making submissions, because one of the things you look at, for example, if we were in not in virtual court, you'd be looking at, we're taught to look at the hand of the judge, or if you're in a magistrate court, you look at the hand of the magistrate, that if you see that the magistrate or the judge is writing, you wait a bit so that they're able to capture what you said. So if you go on and you just move very quickly, then it becomes very difficult to keep up with you and be able to record your submission. So my suggestion would be that you pace yourself and you speak a bit more slowly. That will help a lot. As far as your heads of arguments, I loved the structure that you divided them, and it was clear that this is what we're dealing with. So one was guided in terms of this is where one would look at, this is the section that dealt with this aspect of the argument, this is this section, so that I commend you on that. And the last one for the amicus, please, I'm not sure if you have access to the other two heads of arguments. Heads of arguments need to have authority, otherwise it is your mere say so. You need to have authority, and also just look at the way that their heads of arguments are structured in terms of indicating that which court are you addressing, which matter it is, the case number, because it might be the same, otherwise it just makes it difficult for one to follow exactly what it is that you're saying. So please, next time, good arguments, but you need to have authority. Without authority, you are in the dark. Thank you. Those are all my submissions.
Justice.
Thank you. At the outset, I would like to commend all the participants. You were amazing, I think, for the level of where you are at in your legal careers. This was of superior quality, considering where you are at in your legal careers and the experience that you've had. So kudos to you. I would like to say the following also, and that is that there are two things that you need to get right before I start talking about presentation, you know, of the oral argument. When you're a lawyer, you've got to get your documents in order. So when you draft heads of argument, when you draft any documents, your job as a lawyer is to ensure that your documents are correct, accurate, that for whatever it's worth, at least the spelling is all correct in all your documents. So some of the documents were not spell checked, and that's important, and that irritates judges if they don't get quality documentation out. I agree with Justice Raji. If you're going to do do heads of argument, then your argument, it should have a list of authorities. It shows proper research, and it shows where it helps the judges to be on the same page as you are. I was particularly impressed with the respondents' heads of argument. Those were good heads. They were drafted very succinctly and in order, and that was very appreciated. Also, if you're going to court, and whether you're on Zoom or it's a moot court or in any kind of court, I would be respectful of the court proceedings and ensure that I came appropriately attired. You know, I would wear a jacket, always wear a jacket, because that's a good thing. It shows respect to the court. And of course, if you were in formal court proceedings, you would, you know, robe accordingly. Insofar as the presentation went, I felt that given that this may have been your first, you know, your first formal appearances, you guys were amazing. You stood your ground, and you know, you even though we tried not to traumatize you too much, you stood your ground and you tried, and that was what was important. So yes, the oral argument went very well, but you should pace yourself and breathe. You know, breathing is a good thing. Get some breathing exercises. Know your material well, so that when you're presenting, it comes across like a story instead of all over the place. So that could be another pointer in that direction. What was the other one that I needed to look at? Overall, you know, I thought that the quality was very good, and I was incredibly impressed with everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justices. Okay, my assessment, people, where do I start? Firstly, and very importantly, I was blown away, people. I was blown away by the presentations of all counsel in our engagement. It was phenomenal, and I take it from the position that I've been training junior advocates for about 20 years. And I find that the level of engagement, the level of interaction, the level of articulation of legal principles, the articulation of your of the logic within your grounds which you advance were outstandingly well put. The other justices have given fantastic, my co-justices have given fantastic grounds in terms of how to progress. And I associate myself with that, how to progress yourself in terms of your practice. But I see a bright future for all of you. All the counsel that were involved in this matter, I see a very bright future for each one of you. You will have picked up certain lessons from this, and the lessons are what the other justices have indicated to, and I don't want to repeat that. I think that I agree with them. I also want to, I think, perhaps just one lesson that I want to give to the applicant is that when you hinge your case on a particular example to the court, make sure that that example is tested by you, that it will withstand any questioning. So for example, the concession on the Columbia as your example as to why South Africa should have followed the same route, then came unhinged when you conceded the point that perhaps Colombia was not the right example to use. So perhaps that is just one lesson that we go away with. But for the rest, I say, where do I start? It's absolutely blown away, fantastic. Well done to each one of you. And like I said, we look forward to reading your names in the law reports.
Absolutely, I agree.
So now
I also agree.
Thank you
Well
very
done.
much. Yes, we've got a unanimous judgment there as well, people, assessment. And we go back to the program director, Cleopatra. It's back to you.
Thank you, Chief Justice. What a wonderful feedback that was. Without wasting time and delaying, I would like to give a few minutes to our CEO to see if she has some words of wisdom also to share. Advocate Tyree.
Yes, I'm coming online, as in like sorting
And please turn on your video for us, ma'am.
I'm trying.
Thank you.
It is, I wasn't planning to say anything, but I just, you know, I'm overwhelmed, and I'd like to applaud the president and the EXCO for coordinating something that is really innovative and outstanding and virtual. I have been helped a lot as the CEO of this beautiful movement by our EXCO, because it took me a while to adjust to the virtual world, and I battled. So I was led by the alumni president and the EXCO. So I have to thank you. And I think that's what Ubuntu is. It is synergy, and it is your strengths, you know, supplement the parts of me and facilitate those parts that need growth. And I want to thank you for helping us reach this point, because without the president and the EXCO, today would not have been such a success. So very well done. Halalala, Igama, lamakhosikazi, malibongwe. And what I would like to say is to our justices, without a doubt, if we did not have your willing participation, we could not contribute to the skills platform. We could not contribute to the next generation of lawyers. So to our justices that willingly, with unequivocally give of their time, we have over decades of experience in these justices that are before us here. And that experience voluntarily is now being shared with our incoming generation for the benefit of the clients. It is for the benefit of the courts, it is for the benefit of the rule of law, and it is also for the benefit of the Constitution, so that we actualize this document so that it breathes, and that Ubuntu and Zenzele is something that is within all of us. So the dignity, equality, and freedom, that's what our movement is founded upon, and it is infused in the philosophies of Ubuntu and Zenzele. You know, Ubuntu is synergy, 1 + 1 = 11. It means together we are more, we can accomplish more, we can reach further, and we can push paradigms. And Zenzele comes from Soweto, the place that the Constitution was signed in, and that comes from Vuku Zenzele. So it means stand up and do it for yourself, so we're not waiting for handouts. It is a pandemic, it is a tough situation, but we are still ensuring that we are educating ourselves, and the alumni and the aspiring alumni, the incoming council, have no doubt, when you learn, we learn. So it is something that education is never one-sided. That is what we as SABWiL want to illustrate is that it is all about Ubuntu. When I am enriched, when I teach, I learn. So it is a circle. That dictatorship where it is a top-down approach is not what we are built on. We are built on continuous learning. It is a circular learning. And this moot court, we are very open to ideation as a movement. So whoever wants to innovate, you are very welcome. We fail when we innovate, but we also grow. So I opened the floor up many years ago when we only had the SABWiL shadowing in 2016. I said, who has ideas? Advocate Ari Ben Ziv came forward. He said he'd like to introduce this moot court. We said, wonderful, let's try it. And here we are 5 years later with the SABWiL Human Rights Court. It has worked and we are growing. So constantly you have ideas on how we can improve what we are currently doing. Please do reach out to the president, reach out to EXCO, but times change. So we have to evolve and innovate and improve as the society around us and the demographic. As it changes, so should we. Progress is built upon everybody contributing a little bit more than they did yesterday. So today I strive to be better than I was yesterday. I don't compete with you, I compete with myself. So what I want to share from a personal position on moot courts, I personally don't believe that there is any other better training ground for litigation than moot court participation. Now, litigation, I'm isolating that because today we are focusing on litigation. So moot courts, if you aspire one day to be an orator, to make submissions to justices and to litigate, then this must be your playing ground. The design of these courts, our court particularly, is so that you improve your skills. So we do not belittle. The justices are not allowed to do that. There are two cardinal principles in this moot court. It is the supremacy of the Constitution and the best interest of the learner. Mark my words, if you're in a real court, the best interest of the learner is certainly not something that the judges are taking into account. So in a training situation, a moot situation, you have an opportunity that you will not have anywhere else, because here you can learn. It's all about you, and no client suffers at your cost. So when you're learning in open court for the first time, you might make a mistake, but there's a client and a judge and an opponent and everybody else that has to be privy to that mistakes. Now, mistakes are not bad. We all grow from mistakes. All of us, after decades of years of experience, we have made many, many mistakes, and we stand up tall despite it. So litigation is really very rough. It is not for anybody. You develop very thick skin and you need to stand up every single time. But one of the reasons we have SABWiL and we have this is that when we stand up in a network that supports us. So when you come out of court, we head to our peers that have experienced what we have experienced. We pick up the phone, we say Advocate Aslam, we say Attorney Tasneem, we say President Prudence, this is what happened, and we draw strength from each other. So after my first appearance, I mean, it was a virgin appearance. I've never appeared before. It took me 2 weeks to recover from that appearance. I went onto my colleague's floor, and you feel as if you have no skin, but with time, that thickens. So then it's like water off a duck's back. It does. It comes with time. So it's very much like a boxing ring. And the other point I will share. So the first was, this is the best training ground. The second point I will share is this. This is personal to me. I'm not sure what my other colleagues will say, but I do believe the only time I know an advocate is or an opponent that is an attorney, whoever my opponent is actually when I have had them as an opponent. Because we may sit and we may have coffee together, but I can tell you coffee together and conversations together will never ever tell me the integrity and the ethics that resides in that council until I've had them as an opponent. You know why? Because when we are opponents, we're under the highest degree of pressure. We carry that ball. It is like Messi. We don't want to drop that ball. We want to look in the hole. So the pressure is on responsibility. We have the legal obligation. We have the ethical obligations. We run that team. And under pressure, you see true color. So the best thing always to remember is always keep your integrity, always be honest, because your opponents learn how you fight. I know my opponents better than their partners would because they don't know them in an adversarial situation. We know what they are like in litigation. And the best thing I can say is always keep your dignity, be ethical, be respectful. And this is not a personal cat fight. It is litigation. That is why there are rules of court. And that, I think, is my second item. My second item is that's what I've learned. As much as moot training gives you the best outside of practice, the ultimate place that I've learned my best is through seasoned opponents. So there's a skill transfer that happens when you're against a seasoned opponent. You see how they tackle that particular issue and you learn. So don't underestimate the learning that one can acquire from the best of opponents and even from the judges. But court scenario is really wonderful. And I wish all of you the ultimate best. And I hope that you all have the right to practice. And remember, this is a long journey. Everyone stumbles. Remember, we simply didn't walk. We crawled, we fell, we ran, we fell, we figured things out. And as you move through life, whatever it is, there are different paradigms. And why it's important, I believed initially starting out, I was an island. I learned very, very quickly, there is no such a thing. You may be an island in a sea, but you're going to need to connect. So you grow through synergy. Because you discuss your matters, you discuss your experiences, you learn how to do it better. And that's why it's good to have a legal network. And that's what I hope SABWiL is. So this year, we want to thank Advocate Mohammed Patel because he participated in training. He really did very well in coming to the party voluntarily, and he helped the participants through voluntary training for those that elected to open themselves up to this initiative. And remember, we don't force you to maximize opportunities. Everybody that is here today is a willing participant. Justices, counsel, attendees, we don't force people. If you do not want to be here, there is a option to leave. So that stimulates a really healthy environment. You can come back again when you are ready, but it is about Ubuntu and Zinzele. So when you are ready, we are here. If you need space, you will need to go, that is fine. And those words apply to our incoming alumni. So I know the president says you will receive a certificate. I think what she forgot to say is that you receive that certificate upon successful completion. If you were disrespectful, if we found that you did not conduct yourself and bring your highest standard, you would not receive our certificate and you would not be our alumni. So that assessment is made after the justices provide their input, after we assess your conduct, and I look forward to welcoming you all as our incoming alumni. And know that we all learn from each other. We want to build upon your strengths, and we want to move from where we are now to beyond. And we want you to surpass all of us. If we only have achieved up to a certain level that is 10, we expect you to achieve up to 10 times 10. That is why you have this platform. That's why you have the foundation. That is progress. If you achieve only 10, then we are simply moving on the same path that we have been, and we have not broken down any barriers. So we expect you to be better than us. So we want you to excel. We will smile when you achieve. There is no jealousy. I compete only with myself. We don't compete with our peers, because everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. So I was not expecting to address you, but given that alumna Cleopatra put me on the spot and didn't allow me to just enjoy this occasion, I have shared with you two items. The one is, as I've expressed, moot court training is the best that I think outside of court. Secondly, the other place that I have learned the best, it may be different for other advocates, is my opponents. I have truly, because I see them as they truly are, and that is where I have learned. And when you're decent and respectful, you can have a conversation and you actually learn from your opponent, as opposed to just because we are all there with a professional objective. And remember, the professional objective is not for you to win at all costs. The professional objective for an advocate and attorney is to help the judge reach the most just conclusion with the law, with the facts. You are there, yes, to speak for your client. You are the voice for your client if you have a right of appearance, and you are instructed. But it is really, if you remember that, you are there to help the judge. I was a judge's clerk. It is useless and futile if you are going to attack the judge. You don't fight with your judges. You persuade, you make submissions. I really applaud all our counsel, because I saw that even the applicants' counsel, I really commend the way you addressed the justices. It was with the utmost of respect, and that way of addressing is where you couch the logic. So even though you have the purest of logic, the best of argument, remember it needs a vehicle. And that vehicle will be your integrity, it will be the ethics, it will be how you actually address your colleagues, the judges, and it is how that logic moves to persuade. But if you come only with a logic, remember there's human nature. You do not want to ever be disrespectful. And I know in the beginning it is hard, because we need to be trained to navigate an argument to a particular point in a respectful fashion, because it's not about I say, he say, and playing the person. It is persuading and respect. Without respect, there is nothing. So SABWiL is also founded not only on dignity, equality, and freedoms infused in Ubuntu and Zezele. Our core is respect. Without respect, there is nothing to build on. If people are not respectful in your personal life, in your professional life, then you need to walk away, because you can't teach people respect. This is not relationships you want to have. Respect is ultimate. So thank you, alumna Cleopatra. Thank you to our justices, and thank you so much to all the willing attendees that graced our court forum. And thank you, everyone, for teaching me that we can learn in a virtual environment. It has really been a challenge for me, because I'm used to the open court. We've been doing things differently for many years, and now to embrace everyone virtually, I did not know that it could be possible. Now I do. I know that there are benefits and there are disadvantages, but the benefits are that we reach more people. We have more that is recorded. So before, most of what happened with us would not have been recorded. Most of our think tanks now, for generations to come, others can benefit, and we are building a legacy. So I want to thank you. I want you all to know that we are always open to ideation. We want to always be progressive, and we are here for the youth. So this is not a top-down structure. If the youth, there was a year when I asked, do you still want this court to happen? And the unanimous response was yes, yes, yes. So we have the court. If next year everybody says no, 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 then we don't have the court. our time is precious. We want to be where we can contribute the most. So if this is not the best learning forum, help us and show us where we can use our skills in the best way forward. That's there is no better learning place than in open court. So when you are starting out, do all and everything in order to gain experience. And thank you for bringing your best to the party. And Igama, lamakhosikazi, malibongwe.
Malibongwe. Whew, phew, I think you guys now understand why I had to put her on the spot and let her have a few words. Well, more than a few words. I remember giving you 2 minutes, madam, and that turned into 22 whole minutes. And sure, I'm truly positively motivated. Milibila, kindly mute your mic.
Sorry.
Mute it, please. This instance. Thank you. Right, where was I? I was saying that I'm sure that all of us are positively motivated after the proceedings, watching our participants engaging with the justices, words of wisdom and all that. I know I am. So, phew. I'm not going to turn into Advocate Tyree now and turn my 1 minute speech into 200 million billion minutes speech. But I am going to hand over to alumna Matabo Mohwaduba for the closing. Matabo, are you here? I know that there's a terrible time difference between us and you. I hope you're awake. Matabo?
Yes, I'm here. Let me switch on my video.
Fantastic. So I will hand over to you, ma'am, for that, I'm pretty sure, amazing speech that you've got planned for us.
I think everyone has said incredible things, and it's difficult to come after everyone has spoken. And good morning from my side. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matabo Mohwaduba. I'm a SABWiL alumni. In fact, I was actually contemplating, am I an alumni, after Advocate Tyree spoke about a certificate, and I realized I don't have one. So I must follow that up with my president from the time. As I said, Matabo Mohwaduba, I studied at the University of Pretoria. I studied my LLB and did my master's there as well. And after that, I clerked for Chief Justice Mogoeng at the Constitutional Court. And currently I am based in New York. And I'm a SABWiL alumni, and very, very humbled to be a part of this very, very important conversation and platform that's been created. I'd like to begin, just reiterating the sentiments that have been expressed by all colleagues, that you've all done so exceptionally well, and congratulations to that. To be able to conduct this exercise in and adjust yourselves according to the situations that we find ourselves in now is quite a brilliant thing. It's said that excellence is being able to successfully to be able to succeed under unfavorable circumstances. And COVID has brought about a lot of unfavorable circumstances, but here we are. And I think this is actually a brilliant platform, and to be able to have an online platform to, as Advocate Tyree said, to be able to reach more people, even when there is an open court, I think it's something that we can learn so much from. And I also would like to extend my gratitude to all the justices, Chief Justice Bava, I hope I'm pronouncing your surname correctly, and Deputy Chief Justice Musa and Justice Raji. The feedback that you've given, I'm even learning from that, and I think it's really meaningful feedback. And I think the type of exercise that's being conducted here, it really permeates into all aspects of your life. So being able to argue, being able to think critically, being able to put your points forward, and to reason it and persuade, as Advocate Tyree say, you don't fight your opponent, you persuade them. And that's a skill that you take into whatever aspect of life you go into, and wherever you want to plant your feet in future. And I think that's such a meaningful exercise. And when Justice Raji spoke about pacing yourself and sticking to your guns. I've seen that in the constitutional court as well. You know, most of the argument the first contact with the argument that we get is the written submissions. And you have these volumes and volumes of submissions, but when it's written so well, it's so easy to be able to take in that information and to be able to be persuaded even just from the volumes that you're receiving. And when you have counsel that's also speaking to those in a logical way, pacing themselves, and the presentation as well, I think it goes a long way in communicating your case effectively. When Deputy Chief Justice Musa said, you know, the spell check, yes, we need to be diligent in every aspect and make sure that we cover ourselves. Of course, there's human error as well, but as far as you can, you know, just be efficient in those aspects. And what Chief Justice Bava said, saying he's been training persons for 20 years, that's actually really incredible. And it's amazing that we have access to wells of wisdom such as yourself and all the colleagues that have been willing to give themselves to this platform. I think it's such an incredible growth point, and all of us can learn from it. And I really do look forward to the growth of this platform, and to really, I would say that we can even publicize this, even have a live stream on YouTube, even when there's open courts, so that so many people can learn from this, because this is very meaningful feedback, and we can all grow from it. And so I'd just like to express my gratitude also to SABWiL. It also has been a growth point for me, and just being exposed to new opportunities, especially as persons coming from what is called previously disadvantaged groups. Perhaps you're the first generation lawyer or law student in your family, and there's really no guidance, and you're just winging it as you go. But having these sort of platforms where you have a sense of community, and where there is guidance and wisdom, and you're really encouraged and you're equipped, most importantly, to shoot for the stars, anything is possible. So I'd like to encourage you to plug into these platforms, grow them, and invite more people into them. And I'd like to express my gratitude. Thank you to everyone who's participated, and many congratulations for your commitment that you've willingly given. And it really is an investment into yourself, and it certainly will pay off. That I can assure you of. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Alumna Matabo. Well, I thought you were gonna instruct Advocate Bava to to end the meeting or something, but I'm done. Advocate Bava, I have nothing else to say.
Okay, so if we all done, thank you.
Can you make there's something from the floor? I always like to give last opportunity, just to anyone else.
Okay. No, that is absolutely amazing. I was worried about the time because I spotted Advocate Makambeni in the gallery. I don't know if he's still here. And I thought if I gave him a few minutes, somebody was going to kill me. So since we're opening the floor, Advocate Makambeni, are you still here? Is my mic on?
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm still here.
Please, sir, if you could grace us with a few words of wisdom.
Oh, goodness gracious me.
I'm sorry for putting you on the spot.
Well, let me put it this way. Yeah, well, let me put it this way. You guys have done an incredible job in putting together this competition, because it is a competition by its very nature, but it's what I refer to as healthy competition. And I listened with great intent to what Aisha spoke about regarding how you get to know your colleagues best. And I have a slightly different take, having had the benefit of rubbing shoulders with our learned and esteemed Chief Justice, you know, when I got to the Johannesburg bar. And I referred to him as not just Chief Justice, but the Bra Aslam, you know, because legal practice, basically the life of a lawyer, the shelf life of a lawyer, on average runs for anything between 40 to 45 years. Hence, what Aisha talked about with regard to synergies and networks is of cardinal importance, in the sense that as you practice law, as you move from being a student to being a lawyer, let me do this. As you move from being a student to being a lawyer, it's not just your perspective that comes into the picture, but even those of other colleagues that help to shape and even at times fortify your own perspective. So that is where the benefit lies in having the synergies developed in this kind of an environment. But more than anything else, kudos to all the teams that spoke today. The applicants, well spoken, yes, and there were concessions that needed to be made, and they were well made in my view. And of course, the other thing I feel is that the judges were actually very nice to you today. So, so it was not the kind of pressure cooker that I expected. And I also want to say a word of gratitude, to extend some gratitude to our justices this time, now that I have been retired. Thanks to Aisha, who had the wisdom to put me into retirement, because I would not have had the benefit of having such amazing successes, and especially a special word of welcome and also the handing over of the baton to my successor, that is the Deputy Chief Justice, Judge Musa. So, Judge, well done. You put them through the ringer as you should have, and took a nice cue from the CJ there, who also had his moments of putting people through the ringer, but it was all done in good spirit, and no one felt that they were being broken down from what I observed. And of course, our junior judge, Madam Justice, welcome to the madhouse. But more than anything else, I like the fact that you all got to learn, and I usually say this about the learning process. In as much as you learn a lot from senior colleagues, I have the following take on it. It is not just the juniors and the young upstarts that get to learn, but even those of us who have had mileage in experience get to benefit from having to associate with you, the juniors, you, the students, because you guys teach us what is now going on the ground. So see this as a process whereby the environment has gotten to be enriched on account of your presence in this competition and in this moot court competition. So thank you again for Aisha, for your vision in starting and setting up SABWiL. And not just that, but I've seen so many of you. I think Jimmy is also here. See, he's done a lot of work, and I've observed all the work that you guys have been doing. And then I see Mr. Sakala is also here, another hardworking chap. And even Mr. Dumani himself, even though my friend, they caned you today, but in a good way, and it's all done in good spirit. So see it as this: the environment was less richer in your absence, but your absence has enriched the entire process. And I get to learn a lot from you guys. And of course, the organizer, I think it's Miss Lerato Mudau-Nyatlo. She also did an incredible job. I remember her telling me earlier in the week about how tough she was finding it. And I said to her, listen, just jump back in there and rough it out. You will find your way through it. And of course, Madam Future Chief Justice Mahoa, for putting me on the spot as you did. Oh, I shall pay you back with interest, I promise.
I'm sure you will. I know you will.
But more than anything else, thank you for rising to the occasion during the course of this pandemic. I can imagine it was not easy for any of you to adjust. And with me being as old school as I am, it's still a bit of a culture shock, to get accustomed to the way things are being done, because as Aisha will tell you, and she knows me from for more than 15 years, I love that courtroom stage. It is where I'm best and most in my element. So this leaves me feeling a bit like deer caught in the headlights. And then Matabo, I hope it's not too cold in NYC, my dear. I hope it's not too cold and you're managing, and well, as they say, happy holidays, and you must enjoy a Rockefeller Christmas on that side of the world. I'll be joining you pretty soon, probably in Easter, which when it will be a tad warmer, because right now I was supposed to have been there for Thanksgiving. I could not make the journey. So I couldn't watch the Crimson Tide win the SEC, as I normally watch them in Alabama this time of the year. So that's a bit of a sore point on my part. But everybody, these kind of projects are very close to my heart, and I don't know how to try and convince more students to get involved in the culture of mooting, because that is where we get to help to get everyone to, come to grips with what lies ahead in the world of litigation. And I can never, ever overemphasize the imperative and importance of mooting. Hence, I want to say special thanks to each and every one of you, the judges, the council. And oh, by the way, one point of correction, I heard some of you say council in plural, and instead of saying council, you said councils. It's council, council, singular, council, plural. It's a collective noun. You ever say councils, don't ever tell people that you know me. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're gonna have an amazing festive season. Keep safe, make sure the fact that you adhere to all protocols in respect of the State of Disaster Management Act. And I would love to see and welcome some of you to the profession. I know some of you have completed your studies and will be coming to the bar. Those who are still finishing off in 2021, you have my prayers and best wishes. And I look forward to seeing you in the profession in 2022. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me park it there for now, because I could go on forever. I'm always motivated to speak when I'm ever in your company. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Advocate Makambeni. You never disappoint. As Advocate Tyree stated, does anyone else in the gallery have a few words with emphasis on few words? With few being the operative word? Anyone? Going once?
Kimberlyn, where are you? I see.
Is Ms. Kimberlyn Olivier here too?
And Luminary Jimmy, if they want to say a few.
How did I miss her in the gallery? I think she's hiding from me. No, let's see. Yes, she is actually. There we go. Kimberlyn's iPhone.
And Advocate Jimmy, Luminary Jimmy, anything from you? Are you happy? Oh, she's having issues unmuting herself. But yeah.
Advocate Aisha, thank you very much. I'm not going to say anything more than what I posted in the chat, which was my very sincere congratulations to all the participants. Excellent arguments and presentations. Well done. It was truly an honor and a privilege, world-class in my opinion. Congratulations to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Luminary Jimmy. Well done to our participants. I can't believe it's year 5. I truly, really starting out 2016, here we are 5 years later, and it's our first virtual hearing. So well done to everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And alumna Cleopatra, you invited me to speak. Now it seems like I'm just on my own mojo here.
Oh, you're on a roll. Stop it. I like it.
SABWiL is also a family to me. You are my network. You are my place where I also grow. And I have to thank you because this year, our EXCO pushed me, they pulled me, they helped me, they shaped me into embracing the virtual world. And here I am. So thank you. Without the EXCO, I think we wouldn't have achieved what we've achieved this year. So thank you so much, because this EXCO is one under President Prudence that can lead in a crisis, and that is very remarkable. Not everybody can lead in a crisis. Many of us lead in normal times, and without you, the youth, the alumni, that really I needed help. You all assisted us. And that's the way, you know, sometimes we will pull you forward and other times you pull us forward. And I think in this year of the pandemic, you have led. So halala, Igama lamakhosikazi, malibongwe, vukuzenzele, watin tabafazi, watin mbokodo, and Ubuntu. So you have led us in this pandemic, and I look forward. I will follow, because you truly know how to break ground and set trends and innovate. And I look forward to the contributions in the legal landscape. Don't let it stop here. Halala, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Igama lamakhosikazi, malibongwe, bye.
Okay, I'll end the session now, everyone. Cleopatra,
Yes.
if you're happy. Okay.
Yes, I am very happy. Thank you so much for indulging me, especially for these last bits where I've just been swinging it, really. But thank you so much.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to end the session and you'll all get the recording. All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye.